prayed, we went to bed, and soon we heard that shotgun blast and the race was on, right? Now during the first 4 miles of the race, there is 2,500 feet of climbing to the top of Immigrant Pass. So you immediately, there's no easing into the race. You know, you immediately go to work. And so by the time we arrived at the early checkpoint, we were an hour and a half behind schedule. It was then that I realized I probably didn't have time to finish the race.
Touch the gate, Barkley.
Boom! It's an orange gate, not a green gate or a yellow gate. What color is Barkley gate?
Yellow, isn't it?
I think it's yellow.
Yeah.
Only gate we're worried about is green gate.
That's right.
We've been really started training for Western States back in December when we were on the wait list. So I started out, since then I've run a couple of 50Ks, a couple of 50 milers, some back-to-back marathons. And the main place where we've been doing our runs at is out of Hitchcock. You know, living in Nebraska, it's not exactly mountainous around here, right? And so Hitchcock is about the hilliest place that we've got around here. And I remember when I first started going out to Hitchcock, man, I thought, how do people come out here and run 50 and 100 miles? This is crazy. I remember running just like a 10 miler out there one day, and it wiped me out, and it made me start to second guess myself a little bit. What am I getting into here with Western? Is it something do I have what it takes to do that? But going out to Hitchcock week after week after week now for several months, I've done a 41-mile training run out there at Hitchcock, done a 50-mile training run out there at Hitchcock, and have really been able to adapt. My body's gotten stronger, and I've learned what my weaknesses and my strengths are. I'm never going to be a tremendous climber. My main objective for climbing is just to be steady and not have to stop and not have to waste clock time just standing still. And so I've been able to do that out at Hitchcock, just keep moving. Downhills are my strength, so I'm probably a little bit reckless at times coming downhill, but I know that's where I'm going to make up my time at. And so I feel like Hitchcock has just been a tremendous blessing to be able to get out there and get that training in that I need. It's going to prepare me for those long, steep climbs in Western on the course there. One of the things also that I've loved about training out at Hitchcock is that every time I've gone out there to have a big training day, man, I've had a group of GOATz, good friends, a band of brothers come out and be a part of that journey with me. And so there's never been a day yet that I've gone out there that I've had to run by myself. And so we've had a really good support group. And it feels like, not that they're just coming out there just because I need help or whatever, but they're part of the experience. They're part of the story. They're part of this journey with me, and we're kind of all in this together. So I feel like a lot of ways that when I go out there and I run Western States, I'm not running just for me. I'm running for the GOATz community. I'm running for those guys who come out. I'm running for Omaha. I'm running for a lot of people that may not ever get that opportunity to go out there and run, just because the lottery is so hard to get into. And so it's been kind of fun to share that experience. And I feel like it's not just mine, that it's all of ours collectively. You know, it's interesting, but I never set out to be an ultramarathoner. In fact, I really don't know too many ultramarathoners who aspired to become one when they initially started running. But for me, I was 70 pounds overweight, and I was well on my way to adult onset diabetes due to my poor nutrition habits and an inactive lifestyle. And so I began running to improve my health, and I spent the first couple of years just running some 5Ks. At some point, running 5Ks became easy, and so it became a challenge to me. I decided I'd push myself farther to see what I could do, and half marathons and full marathon finishes started piling up over the years, and it became kind of formulaic. There was a process, and then when I followed that process, even running 26.2 miles no longer challenged me like it did in the beginning, and that led to ultra marathons, as they were kind of the next level of challenge. And what's so wonderful, I guess, about ultra races is there's so many variables that there's always a challenge. In 2012, we didn't know anybody, and the GOATz had just got started recently. Scott Giddings had started the group, and Lee introduced me to a few of those guys. In fact, I think it was August of 2012, we were at the Lean Horse race in South Dakota, and that's when I met Ron and Bobby and Scott and Miguel and Rochelle, just a number of GOATz who were kind of foundational in the early years of that group. It felt like anything was possible, right? And so I said, sure, why not? And so I went, and that weekend in October the same year, ended up running my first 100-miler, and from there just became really involved in the GOATz community, had a lot of good connections with all the runners there, and it seemed like we constantly encouraged one another to the kind of craziness that's normal for us now. But among this community that we've kind of built here in Omaha, it is kind of a normal thing to challenge ourselves and to push ourselves and to encourage one another to dig deeper and go farther than maybe we thought we could before. It is the Super Bowl of 100-milers, the one that started it all back in 1974. The race itself is just steeped in history. It always attracts a class of just the best ultramarathoners in the world. And it affords you to run, the opportunity to run one of the most iconic courses and celebrated races in the world. I mean, to say that I'm excited about the opportunity would be an understatement of immense proportion. For the next several weeks, actually it turned out to be a couple of months, we kept watching my name go up the list a little bit more. All right, he's only 7 away from getting into the main event. He's only 5 away. It was just kind of cool having friends from around the world text me and say, hey, did you notice you moved up? And it was really cool because the defending women's champion, Kaci Lickteig, she was one of the primary ones who would make sure that I knew that I got moved up. I mean, she knew before I did in a lot of cases that my name had went up the list, and she would shoot me a Facebook message or something saying, see you in Squaw. I really don't care how the day goes. If I can find some enjoyment in it and get the buckle and be out there and just savor every moment, enjoy every step as much as I can. I've got my family who's going to be there crewing and pacing for me. I got a good friend of mine who's going to pace me while we're there as well. We've got a couple of other runners from Nebraska, Kaci, and then Mindy Kuhlman, who's going to be there. And so just being able to share this journey and this race experience with people that I care about and people that have become family to me in this running community is something that I'm really, really excited about.
memories are coming back to you as you're on this track?
It was a really cool race. I want to do it again.
Young versus old right here, baby.
So everything pre-race, man, it was just as I hoped it would be. It was just an amazingly picturesque mountain backdrop all around you. We saw all of the elites milling about the resort, Jim Walmsley and Jeff Browning and Chris Mocco. The ladies were all there, Stephanie Howe, Magda Boulay, Yael Wang. Nikki Kimball, who's a past champion, actually was the one who put my race armband onto my wrist. So everywhere we turned, we were running into people we had seen in magazines and videos. It was just a really cool experience to be in those circles.
Right side, right here. There's a line there.
Right there. Okay, this peels off, flip it around.
due to the near record snowfall and a race week heat wave, the course was covered in snow for maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 miles or so, which really slowed us down and overworked our stabilizer muscles. This was followed by miles of a mud bog that at times came up to mid-shin, mid-calf. People were planting their foot in the mud and pulling their foot out and were no longer wearing a shoe, okay? So by the time we arrived at the early checkpoints, we were 75 to 90 minutes behind schedule. At Duncan Canyon, just 24 miles into the race, the aid station captain said it was the slowest times they had ever seen in the history of the race and that he was about to blow the 20-minute till cutoff air horn. I mean, I kind of started to freak out a little bit. It was right then that I really started to doubt that I could finish, that I had enough time. David got me everything that I needed, got me out of the aid station in just a couple of minutes, and I was on my way to Robinson Point at mile 30.
Hey, here at Dusty Corners, it is 12:41 and it is hot. It's probably 88, and this year many of the runners are coming in pretty slow. That first section out of Squaw up over the escarpment, a lot of the snow that they hit for probably the first 10 or 15 miles slowed a lot of people down, so they're gonna have to pick up some time here. These next stages is going to be hard to do in the canyons because it's going to be bloody hot. But Jimmy loves to run heat, so we'll see what happens. I don't expect him through here probably for another hour or so, I'm guessing, but you never know.
By the time I saw David again at Dusty Corners, mile 38, I was well over an hour ahead of cutoff, and I was running strong again. I think at one point I made up like 20 minutes in 6 miles, so I was feeling really good again.
Good job, Jimmy. Hey, Paul.
Do you want to bend down with us?
Yes, that would be great.
Come follow me.
And we're way at the end.
Okay.
Way at the end?
Excellent.
All right.
Well done. Excellent.
That was a good section.
Good. You picked up some time.
Good section.
I'll
Picked
come
a lot
and
of
find
time
you.
up.
Just get your eyes over here. All right, get you some water.
Good. Welcome. Yep. Absolutely. Thanks, y'all. Good job. All right, way to go.
Friend of mine. And then the two really big, nasty climbs came when I got to the canyons. There are 18,000 feet of climbing on the course and 23,000 feet of descending for a total of around 41,000 feet of elevation change, which for a flatlander is just brutal. And on this day, the heat really played a factor. Normally the race starts out maybe in the 40s or 50s, but it was quickly in the 70s for us. Then in the canyons, it was over 100 degrees, which is somewhat normal for the race. But you know what? Hitchcock had me well prepared for the climbs. I really didn't struggle as much getting up those two climbs as I anticipated that I would. And I managed the heat by wearing a bandana packed with ice. And then there were like 3 creeks where a lot of us took off our packs and just submerged ourselves in the water. And that melted snow runoff just felt so amazing. And it kept my core temperature and my heart rate in check. Wave to the camera, guys! Yeah! Woo! Western States, man. Having the time of my life. This is amazing. Incredible views everywhere you turn. Thanking God for the day. About to come out to an opening here. Check that out.
It's amazing.
Well, crewing for a 100-mile race means getting up early and getting Jimmy to the start line with everything he needs, and then being at each of the 8 stations where we can meet him and making sure that he has food and water and more clothes or just whatever he needs to get him to the next aid station that we'll see him at again. And sometimes it means just being there to encourage him or push him or whatever it is that it takes to get him, to keep him going. Well, they both love running so much, and they enjoy running together, and just the bond that they have because of the time they spend together, whether it's running or other things. But
so Jacob and I, we kept running. We made it to the Rucky Chucky aid station at the American River Crossing, mile 78, and we didn't even stop for food and water. We jumped into a raft, and a volunteer whisked us across to the other side. This was one of my favorite moments of the race because Jacob and I had watched videos of this crossing for years and had dreamed of this moment crossing it together. So it was really a sweet time for us. He had kind of anticipated we might be there as early as 2 a.m. and it was right around 4 a.m. when we got there. So David tagged in as my pacer at mile 80, and we took off, and soon dawn started to break. And you know, by this time I'm just beat up and worn out, and I'm like doing silly things, like I'm doing my Yoda voice, like, tired I am. Sit down I must. So I start turning on the iPhone music. We start listening to some music to try to pump me up, make me feel better. I just kept praying, help me hang on. Just help me hang on for just a few more miles. Because it was about that time, around mile 90 or so, that I started doubting again. And we were starting to cut it a little close to cutoffs. My legs were thrashed. We had this nasty climb up to Highway 49 coming, and there was still the climb up Roby Point to come. Started working hard, and I started running as fast as I could.
Good.
Thank you.
Hey, look at that lake turnout.
Both legs can do ice, water.
He'll make that decision with the bounce I did. 370. Did you get 127?
Real quick.
What?
Thank you. I don't. Jimmy might want those. What? You want that hat?
You want here? I'll top it off. Or do you want to top it off with ice? Thank you.
You got a coat and shirt?
Yep.
I'm gonna switch out that hat for you.
Yeah. So you don't want this one?
No.
Okay.
You got a shirt on you?
Probably got a half hour. Yeah.
Amy, where's he at?
Just gotta get out of here.
What do you need? Right here, ice. Right there. Right there. Ice. Back on the other side.
Can we get you?
Yep, another one of those. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Around the neck?
Then I need to figure out how to get this thing on.
Do you have ice there?
He's got the goods. He's got an hour. We just got off.
Yes, what she needs me to do.
Do you have some ice?
Oh, yeah.
Give me a minute. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is our anointment for going the rest of the way.
All
Now
right.
that you have it, you can go.
And then will you spray him, please?
I will.
I appreciate it.
Guys, figure out how. Are you ready for ice?
So finally we crossed No Hands Bridge at mile 96.8, and I remember just so vividly looking at David as we were crossing the bridge and seeing the beautiful mountains around us and the river below. And I remember saying, dude, this is No Hands Bridge. We are running Western Stinking States 100. How cool is this, right? So for the next couple of miles, I mean, it really started to sink in. Just before we reached Roby Point at mile 98.9, man, I turned to David and I tried to thank him. And all I could do was just cry. And I think that said everything, and he knew exactly what I wanted him to know. When we reached Roby Point at mile 98.9, and I was just overwhelmed with emotion. We had 45 minutes to travel 1.3 miles, and for the first time all race, I relaxed. Jacob rejoined us for the final mile, and when I saw him, I just hugged him and cried some more. That mile was magical as we kind of ran through Auburn toward Placer Track. And there were dozens upon dozens of people lining the roads, cheering us and congratulating us. Paula joined us for the last quarter mile, and all four of us ran around Placer Track to the finish line. And in 29 hours and 26 minutes, by the grace of God, I became a finisher at Western States. When I crossed the finish line, a volunteer called out to me and said, "I bet you don't have hills like these back in Nebraska."
They don't have hills like that back in Nebraska, do they?
No, but we do have a pixie ninja and an amazing running community called the GOATz, and a group of people who hear from God and draw strength from Him in this race called life. You know, as I look back on Western States, I hope I ran it in such a way that it honored myself, my crew, the GOATz, and most importantly, Jesus Christ, my Savior.
(29:26), Jimmy Brown.
Here, Jimmy.
29:26 from Osaka, Keisuke Tanaka.
See You In Squaw. For the vast majority of people, they have absolutely no idea what that means. It means nothing to them. But for an ultrarunner, the significance of that statement immediately registers whenever it's heard. It's a statement that we ultrarunners from around the world, from all walks of life, hope to be able to say one day. Because it means that you will soon be experiencing the granddaddy of them all, whether as a runner or a pacer or a crew member. Those four words express something really special to those who know the Western States 100 or who have experienced it, because those four words tell a whole story about sacrifice, perseverance, determination, guts, training, passion, goals, and of course, community. Those four words don't guarantee anything about your experience at the race or how you finish or even if you will finish. They're not words of competition or rivalry or bravado, but rather they are words of connection and bonding as people band together for the journey of a lifetime. Regardless of age, sex, or demographics, when you meet another person going to the Western States 100, those four words are not simply a polite gesture of meeting up again at the race. Instead, Listen, they embody all the emotions and spirit that's welling up inside in anticipation of the experience that you're soon going to be embarking on and sharing with others. And as I look back, it was the running experience of a lifetime. It was everything I hoped it would be. It was brutal and beautiful. And to be able to share that with my family and friends and have a community of loved ones in Omaha and around the world be a part of it through Facebook and internet and text. I mean, I just have a priceless memory that I will treasure for the rest of my life. Those 4 words mean that I was never alone. Regardless of the difficulty of the training and the race, despite the pain and suffering, no matter the size of the challenge I faced, someone always shouldered part of the burden with me. There were other runners to chat the miles away with. There were crew members to take care of my needs. There were messages to encourage me. There were volunteers to offer support. I mean, this was never about me. And when See You In Squaw became a reality for me, and when I crossed the finish line, I did it for all of us. For me, those words go far beyond the iconic course that stretches from Squaw Valley to Auburn. They extend far past where the dirt single track ends. They are a reminder that Jesus said He would never leave me alone to run the race of life by myself. Wherever the path takes me, I know that I will see, hear, and feel the presence of God in my life. And my hope is that if you desire to be a part of the Western States 100, that you get to experience this race in your life. But even more, that regardless of where your path takes you, you experience life in your race. See you in Squaw. Thou shalt not pass. You shall not pass. No, you will not pass.